Today was just the beginning of active weather. I'll let you know what comes next for the inland Northwest.
Still shut down with no signs of compromise. Tonight, federal workers prepare to miss yet another paycheck. So how are they making ends meet? What about unemployment? We're getting answers to your questions. Plus, a violent police stop this week leaves 2 Spokane officers injured, but leads to the discovery of 3 kids who'd been reported missing in the Seattle area. Good evening. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward. As the government shutdown continues, more families are looking for ways to close that financial gap. The president recently announced that federal workers will be compensated for all this time after the shutdown is over. But a promise for later just may not be enough to provide for right now. KREM 2's Shayna Waltower joins us here in the newsroom with more on financial options that even then may not be enough. Shayna?
Yeah, thanks, Whitney. It's been almost a month since the beginning of the shutdown, and federal workers have already missed 1 paycheck, and tomorrow will mark the 2nd. While the president says those workers will eventually be paid for all this lost time, that doesn't do anything to help them right now. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, there are more than 75,000 federal workers in Washington and 14,000 in Idaho. Many of these workers are being affected by the partial government shutdown, now wrapping up day 27. Possibly the biggest question besides when it will end is how federal workers will eventually be compensated. Well, on Wednesday, President Trump signed a bill stating that all federal employees will receive back pay as soon as the shutdown ends, and this does include all of them. Right now, many of these workers are furloughed, meaning they're on unpaid leave, and the others are still working without getting paid. Those workers are called accepted employees. They're considered essential to keeping the government running. The bill states that they can still take leave as long as it's approved. That leave will be unpaid for now, but will be reimbursed after the shutdown. In the meantime, unemployment benefits are available for many of those struggling to make ends meet, but only for those on furlough or those currently working part-time without pay. Those essential employees still working full-time without pay are not eligible for unemployment. Neither are those contracted by the government. For those who are approved for unemployment, it still could take weeks before they receive their first unemployment check. Now, employees who apply for and receive unemployment benefits will be required to repay those amounts once they receive their back pay checks, and any unreturned unemployment funds could be deducted from workers' federal tax returns. You'll be able to find more information on these requirements on our website at KREM.com. In the newsroom, Shayna Waltower. I'll send it back to you, Whitney.
All right, Shayna, thank you very much. And as the shutdown continues, the U.S. Department of Labor says the number of furloughed workers seeking unemployment has spiked. It went from less than 1,000 applicants a week before the shutdown to more than 10,000 the first week of January. All that as conversations between lawmakers about reopening the government just have not moved forward at all. President Trump issued a letter to Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi today denying her access to a military aircraft for a trip to visit troops in Afghanistan. It's seen as a response to a letter Pelosi sent the president yesterday. She asked the president to either reschedule his State of the Union address until the government reopens or submit it to Congress in writing.
A wall has to be built. We need security at our southern border. Drugs flow in. Tremendous percentages of the drugs coming into our country come from the southern border. We're not going to allow it to happen.
We're not paying people who keep us safe, the TSA agents who stop bombs from coming onto planes, the FBI agents who track down terrorists in our country, the DEA agents who stop the flow of drugs into our country, and the immigration officials who patrol the border.
The White House also canceled plans for a presidential delegation to travel to an economic forum in Switzerland next week, and they cited the shutdown as the reason for the cancellation. All right, as we switch gears back here at home, a winter weather advisory is in effect until tomorrow morning. And you know what that means. The mountains expected to get quite a bit of new snow. Thomas Patrick is in the Weather Center tonight to let us know where and just how much. Thomas?
Yeah, Whitney, it's just the mountains, the higher elevations that we'll see any more additional accumulations through tonight and into tomorrow morning. But that does not mean everybody else is exempt from some kind of winter weather. There at least is this rain-snow mix that's passing through the inland Northwest, mostly through the Palouse right now, as you see the blue and the green shades making their way from west to east through the I-90 corridor. Looks like the heaviest stuff just went through Sprague, and it's about to get into Cheney as of right now. Mostly rain, a couple snowflakes trying to mix in, but it doesn't look like that's going to accumulate If anything, it's just been this slushy rain snow shower for the better part of the day, including the 11 o'clock hour as of right now, even between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. So the winter weather advisory only exclusively for the higher elevations of the Idaho mountains. So Spokane, Coeur d'Alene not included in that. St. Mary's and Lookout Pass are that until 7 o'clock in the morning. So where it has snowed and has accumulated, a little bit more for tonight. But tomorrow morning shouldn't be a bad morning commute for a Friday. A couple wintry mixed rain snow showers still possible, especially near the Coeur d'Alene area. But overall, it's actually looking better for the next 48 hours. But we still have some wet and possibly a little bit more snow on the way. I'll break down in detail and time out that weekend forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Sounds good, Thomas. Thank you. Well, a violent overnight traffic stop in Spokane injured 2 police officers, but ended with the surprise discovery of 3 children who were missing from the west side. It happened late Tuesday night. Police thought they were pulling over a drunk driver who was weaving all over the road and running into curbs. But as soon as they stopped, officers say the driver immediately jumped out of the car and started yelling that he was going to murder the officers. He also had his hands tucked into his waistband like he might have a weapon. Police say they tried to tase the man, but it had no effect. And that's when we're told the suspect charged one officer and tackled him to the ground, trying to reach for his gun. It wasn't until the second officer knocked the man unconscious that the fight finally ended. Inside the man's car, police found 3 children who had been reported missing by their mother earlier that day in Bremerton. Both officers were hurt. Both are expected to be okay. The suspect is identified as 37-year-old Aaron Ahmad. He's being held on a $100,000 bond and will be back in court later this month. Prominent Spokane architect and developer Ron Wells pleaded not guilty to multiple charges accused of defrauding insurance companies. Wells entered that plea in U.S. District Court on Monday. Documents name him as one of 22 defendants accused of staging 33 crashes and injuries in order to collect insurance money. The indictment names Spokane County's William Mize as the leader who orchestrated about 6 incidents per year in eastern Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and eastern California. All right, we know it has been a pretty steady mix of rain, ice, and snow all day long. So what's next? Thomas Patrick looking through to the weekend. We're back in just a few minutes.